What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another DangerFest podcast. Wait, DangerCast. Sorry, we've changed the name a couple times. Back to another DangerCast podcast episode. It's been a while since we've done one. I'm just trying to get back on a regular schedule here, maybe semi-weekly. You know, I do miss doing it. Honestly, I've just been bummed out because Campsite left me. He abandoned me. But got a special guest this week. We got Ziggy here, backyard thrower on YouTube, and how do you pronounce your last name again, dude?
Ziggy. Yes.
Yeah, probably the first and last time I'll ever say that because he's Ziggy to us.
Yes.
All right, man. This podcast is not sponsored by anybody, so hit me up. Anyway, man. Name, age, where you hail from, how long you been throwing?
So Mike Ziggy, I'm 48, and
God damn, you're old,
right? But so yeah, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s with all the awesome action shows, movies, all the old 70s kung fu movies,
all the awesome cartoons,
and like everything that they're just remaking today.
Yeah.
And I grew up out in the country, and there was no internet, no YouTube, hardly any video games, so it's just like
magazines, movies. That's where you got your information.
Yeah, you still had to like look up the item number and write it on the card in the catalog
if you really wanted
and then
something.
Mailed it, and then just sat there and stared at the mailbox for 6 weeks. But yeah, I've been doing stuff since I was a kid, just hanging out outside, doing stuff. And
awesome. So you and I talked about this earlier, but just let everybody know, you and I met about 4 years ago at a Blade Aces throw, and
Yes.
That was your first competition?
That was. I was doing stuff online and posting it to, different social media platforms, and I saw other people throwing, and they were like, "Hey, there's a competition in Ohio," and I'm like, I'm in Ohio. If I'm going to call myself a knife thrower, I might as well go and see what it's all about.
Try it out,
so,
right?
Yeah.
And the first person you saw online was Natalie, correct?
Yes, Savage Thrower.
Yep, Savage Thrower.
She was the one that was actually promoting the Blade Aces event, so that's why I was.
She does a really good job of promoting all of it.
Yeah.
She's a really good ambassador for the sport.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have her, actually. She's done a lot of good things for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Like, what's your favorite way to throw? Like, do you have a certain style that you like, a certain type of knife?
So, like I said, I've been throwing for such a long time, but not with any kind of real information on how to. And kind of like self-taught and like, maybe read a book or something like that here and there, and just kind of started with rotational and half spin and like military grip and just stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, when I started seeing other throwers back in like 2020, 2019 online, and the stuff that they were doing, the stuff that you were doing, I'm just like, man, I need to like step my game up and learn, because this is like the most exciting and relaxing thing that you could do. Like you could sit there and throw all day long, but like you get that perfect stick and it's just like boom, serotonin, like awesome.
It's like a drug.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like reward system. I'm trying to something reward. There's a
I have no idea.
Anyway. Shit. Sorry, he came over here today, drove 4 hours to hang out with me and do the live stream on YouTube. We had a lot of fun doing that. We just got done doing some sword cutting. He brought a bunch of katanas, a couple katanas and a medieval sword, and we just had a blast doing that. So it's been a long, long day, past couple days.
But anyway, your question is, so favorite that I'm really trying to get better at is rotational.
Yeah, really.
And like no spin was something that was difficult to learn, but once it clicked, once that achievement unlocked, then I started getting a lot better at that. So it's kind of up in the air, which is my favorite, but I like it all.
You impressed me today. Your no spin is really good, and I expect you to do pretty well at Joe's.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see, man. You impressed me. That was pretty cool. You also enjoy making your own blades. You brought a lot that you've made yourself. Do you enjoy doing that, or?
So I would consider myself crafty, but not artsy. And, it's, you grow up on a farm in the 80s and there's always steel around. So I've been tinkering around with that, but knife making is hard. It's not easy to cut steel. So like I make what I throw, but I don't really like produce anything. So.
But you've been getting into leather craft a lot lately. You actually brought me a couple gifts today and sent me a gift was it early birthday present or Christmas present?
It was just,
either or, but those were super cool. And there were 3 tomahawk sheaths. Is that what they call them? Tomahawk sheaths or holders or whatever?
Yeah.
So I'm searching for a pair of custom tomahawks. Hopefully we get them from Offset Knives from Larry Mayer. It's pretty soon, but thank you. And you seem to be pretty good at that almost immediately.
Well, it was, like I said, being crafty and being able it's not difficult to cut out shapes. And once you learn the process of it. And so my sister, she passed away in 2019.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
She was doing, she did leather craft way back in 4-H.
Oh.
So like, I saw her kit sitting there and I'm like, well, I'm going to take this kit and I'm just going to try and learn how to do it. And it's almost like, I wish I would have learned more from her when she was still with us. But, she was just always one of those people that like, if you needed something done, she could do it, So yeah, we all miss her and appreciate your sentiment.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, that's kind of, I'm trying to carry that on,
That's cool. That's awesome. And I'm not sure if you are too familiar with Natalie's story. She got into knife throwing because her brother was into it and he passed away. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of interested in that and wanted to continue with that. And look how far it's taken her, man. It's just, I don't know. That's just really cool to have like an origin story for that type of stuff,
Yeah. And it's like she used to make all kinds of stuff. She made my one sister knew somebody that was doing tree service and like custom made the harness for him.
Oh,
and like,
wow.
So like, but she never like produced any products, but she could do whatever. And so that's what I'm kind of doing. I'm like, if I see something that I like and I'm like, well, I have these tomahawks that I compete with and they're just rattling around in a box. And I'm like, it'd be nice if I had a sheath and they don't, I think they might make a nylon sheath for them. But
yeah, they're really
crappy.
chintzy. Yeah, they're okay. And it is all you want them to do is just protect your sharp edge.
Yeah.
They're okay.
And so that's why I was like, well, screw it, I'll make my own.
Leather's always better,
right?
In my opinion. I'm a big fan of leather. Do you mind giving the viewers sharing your experience with finally attending a throw and how what your experience was there?
So yeah, it's dragging myself out of my comfort zone and like, here's this thing that I'm interested in and it's in my home state. And I'm going to try and, attend just to see what it's about, and, I've been throwing knives for a long time, but it's like the amount of information in the community is just staggering. Like, I'm the knife guy from where I am, and a lot of people are. There's a lot of people that know how to sharpen knives and make knives and do this and do that. And then you go to a throw, and it's like, oh yeah, I have this knife, and you're talking to the guy that designed it back in 1950. It's just awe-inspiring, but it's also like I want to learn more. And everybody was just, I've never been to a group that was more accepting and more just honestly like glad that I was there.
Yeah.
And like, I've done stuff. I've gone to other things. I've done paintball. I've done RC cars. I've done this and done that. And like, you always get you know, a little friction here and there, like who's the new guy? What's he doing here?
Or
What is he
people
got?
that are too cool for school.
Right, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just like knife throwing is just like, we don't care if you're throwing something you bought off of Amazon. We don't care if you made your custom, you bought $2,000 knives. We're just glad you're here.
Yes.
You know, and that's the best part about
Yeah.
it, was just meeting everybody and just kind of.
Yeah, everybody's just people that are into knife throwing, especially the competitive people that, you know, it's basically the same group of people that travel around and do this. They're really, really into knife throwing. And we're trying to make it grow. And it brought a lot of joy into my life and changed my life. So I just like to hopefully, you know, get someone else involved and change that. And plus we need more people involved to make the sport grow. So yeah, very welcoming to anyone, like you said. It's just such a, I try to reiterate this as much as possible. It's just such a welcoming group of people, like you just said. The competition name turns a lot of people off, but it's not really a competition, really. It's just more. Joe Dara, Broken Feather, always puts it like this: it's more like a family reunion. We're all hanging out, and then the knife throwing competition happened. And we all decided to join. It's just, yeah, like you said, it's something I've never experienced before in my life until I went to Joe's throw. I think my first throw was in 2014, and that shit changed my life, dude. Everybody was just super grateful to me, dude. Joe took a liking to me that year, and I ended up leaving with several sets of blanks. And I still the set of Griffins, the set of 5 knives Griffins that he gave me, I still throw to this day. I just fell in love with those knives, and it's just the generosity, and like you said, everybody's just super, super cool. I don't know, there's nothing like it, and I hope someone watching this and they're thinking about going to a throw, just go. You're gonna learn so much. Like that 2 or 3 days that you're there for the throw, you're gonna learn more in those 2 or 3 days than you will in 3 to 6 months on your own. It's just mind blowing. And there's just so much history. I think that's something else that I've been trying to make sure that is important, and that everybody understands the history of where we all came from. I think it's very important, because there was a lot of people that paved the road for us where we are today. And then, you know, back in the day, like we're like the beginning. Like social media's been around for a little while, but it's still kind of new. And all those people that were going through the knife throws back in the day, there was barely anybody even recorded the damn thing. And the knife throws that we do now, and the WAKTL or WATL, WKTL stuff, that's new. Like the knife throwing that we do, that stuff happened in the early 90s. And, you know, as a matter of fact, like the rendezvous and stuff, they've been going on for decades.
And like you hear stories of like a group of veterans that got together and they'll sit there and just start throwing knives. You know what I mean? From, you know, World War II and Vietnam and whatnot. Like, it's not a competition, but that's just like an origin almost of like just a group of friends coming together, and somebody is like, hey, let's like, you know?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if I can corroborate this story or fact check this, but what I heard, and I don't remember who told me this, but the original knife throwing started when people would get together to trade goods, furs and food and whatnot. And everybody always had a knife on them. And I heard that that's kind of initially where it started. They would just throw a knife into a stump and then like challenge each other to it. And then also I heard in the Civil War, the American Civil War, guys on the Union and the Confederacy would throw their knives into logs for fun as well. And I can't corroborate that story or not, but that sounds pretty cool.
Have you ever heard of, what is it called? Mumbly peg?
Throwing it at each other's feet?
Yeah, and that was like something like French or soldiers were doing or something. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just something that I've heard, that, you know, as long as there's been something pointy, somebody's been throwing it.
I mean, it makes it, well, they've been doing it in Japan and China. China for thousands of years. So, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. I think that, I don't know, it just finally caught on, and I think it's just the bee's knees. You know, I'm not really into traditional sports, and some people are super into football. I think it's dumb. I mean, whatever. I understand it, and I'll
Right.
sit there and I'll watch a game with you, but it's just not for me. I don't care.
Right.
I'd rather be out doing something constructive like knife throwing. It's just, I'm involved. You know
Right.
what I mean? I don't know. Everybody's got their own interests and stuff, and I really think knife throwing is just the coolest thing ever. And there was this one thing that someone said to me online a few years ago, and it really stuck with me. He said, I don't think everybody thinks that knife throwing is as cool as you do. And I was like, damn, like you're right. But I don't think, like I was saying, I don't think football or basketball is that cool either. And actually, baseball, I was into baseball when I was a kid, and I'm even more into baseball now, the more that I study throwing. And I have a real appreciation for professional baseball players. They are crazy athletic.
Yes.
And just some of those throws they make, God.
Yeah.
I want to take a professional pitcher, and I'm like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what a professional like Nolan Ryan?
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan is my favorite baseball player of all time. We share the same birthday, whatever. He's just amazing. And I don't know. I just think that would be incredible. I forgot what we were talking about. Got off on a tangent here.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about knife throwing and how I started and stuff like that.
Yeah, the people liking it. Yeah.
Yeah. But knife throwing is pretty much in every media there is. I don't think there
all action movies, right? All of them.
I was thinking the other day, the comedy City Slickers with
it's been a while.
With the one comedian and Billy Crystal. And they're New York City guys. They go out to the ranch and there's Jack Palance and he throws a knife and sticks it in the ground.
Yes.
I
forgot about that. That's a good movie.
You kill anybody today, Curly? They ain't over yet. Like it's in everything. Like the newest was that the Umbrella Academy, that new show on Netflix.
Yeah.
The one guy's superpower is throwing knives.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well,
they're curving. You know what I mean?
Well, his power was being able to move metal. And he just picked knives because they were cool.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
But everything like Batman, being a kid and growing up and watching Super Friends. Yeah, man.
We could go down that road all day about famous knife throwing scenes.
Oh,
the two biggest ones for me that jump out in my head right away are Desperado.
Yep.
But you go back and watch that now, it's not the knife throwing scene, especially. It's not great. The knives are about this big. This is an 8.5 inch knife. I think they're smaller than this.
Oh yeah.
And he's got 50 on him, and
he's throwing from the blade the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's unrealistic, but it's still cool. Yeah. And then the other movie that jumps out for me is Under Siege.
Yes, that was a big one. That sold many Gil Hibbins.
Gil Hibbins. That was my first sets of knives. People talk trash about all those knives and stuff, but I threw expert my first tournament at Joe's throw. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we went to Joe's and he saw what I was throwing, and he went over to his case. He popped open his case and he pulled out Damascus forged griffins. Wow. And I was just like, I didn't even want to touch them. And he's like, oh yeah, you could throw them. You could throw them in the tournament. And I was like, man, I really appreciate that, but I haven't thrown those. I've been practicing with these Gil Hibbin 11-inch Tontos for months and months and months, waiting for this day.
Yeah.
So I stuck with those, and I threw expert. I think it was either 216 or 218. I threw my first time.
Nice.
And that's pretty good.
Right.
And there's another whole long story about my first time there, and I'll tell another time. But yeah, man, it doesn't matter. It's a piece of steel.
Right.
I think Hibbins are great. It gets a lot of people into the sport, and they're probably one of the most. His name is probably one of the most recognized in the world.
Yeah.
And he's probably sold more throwing knives than anybody.
Yeah.
United Cutlery bought his name and likeness, but there was Gil Hibbin. He made his by hand custom. Those are really sought after.
Okay.
I don't have any, but they're out there. You can find them on eBay every once in a while. That'd be cool. I would like to have a set of original.
Wasn't he a competitive thrower at one time or something?
You know what? We're gonna have to ask Joe about that. I know that he was at some of the Ichtov throws before they called it Ichtov, And because I know because Joe and him, they've talked to me because they inducted Gil Hibben to the International Knife Throwers Hall of Fame at one point. But I've never heard of anybody seeing him or talking about him throwing in competition. But this is way before I got into it, so don't quote me at all.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
If I was buying Gil Hibben knives back in like the 80s and 90s, he could have been competing in the 70s and 60s.
Correct.
So like,
correct.
Who knows?
Well,
Joe.
well, the competitions. I don't think the real competition started until the early 90s. At least the ones that were documented.
Okay.
But Rick Lemberg and Joe are the two to ask.
I didn't know nothing about competitions other than what I saw back in like books or magazines back in I wouldn't even know how to get a hold of anybody or to find out where they were, you know? And it's like, it was almost like you had to be in that world.
I think that there was a newsletter or something. It was called Pacific. Oh man, see, this is why I'm doing this podcast and knife throwing videos in general, because I think it's important to preserve the history. And it sucks because a lot of the old timers, they're not as savvy with social media and stuff. So it's hard to get an old timer to sit down and actually do this stuff. And believe me, I've tried. Not everybody's too susceptible to do things on camera. But and I wish I knew everything. I just don't. It just sucks not knowing for sure. You know what I mean? Because it was just like a lot of hearsay back then. You know, the internet wasn't around at all. You couldn't fact check things. But back in the day, there was, I think it was all done by mail. I think there was a newsletter that was being sent out. It was like Pacific Southwest or something, Pacific something, because Rick lived in, in California on the Pacific side. We'd have to ask Rick Lemberg, and hopefully one day I can get Rick to sit down with me and do one of these because he's just a wealth of information. He's one of the guys that really invented a lot of the stuff that we do. He invented fast draw, he invented speed knives, all these events that we still do. And actually, it's awesome. I just saw it today that he posted that the Knife Throwing Museum will be finally open, established and open in 2026 in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Rick has he has the knife throwing collection in the world. He's got all these old timers, a lot of them have passed on or, sold their collection or whatever, mostly passed on. A lot of that stuff got sent to Rick, and he has been like a
he was talking about just buying collections.
Whole collections.
Yes.
He bought a lot of Mike Bainton's collection, which is awesome. And I wish I could have bought some of it. But it didn't really happen.
Makes me sad though to see all those throwing knives sitting there on the shelf when they want to be thrown.
Man, would you throw them? Would you throw all of them?
It depends on what it is and how many of them there are. If there is a bunch of these or a few of those, I might throw one and try it out, see what it was like.
That's kind of the thing though, dude. I don't think a lot of those knives that Rick has, Houdini's throwing knives. He has some of Houdini's throwing knives. Chi-Chi's. Chi-Chi was a legend. There's just so many people that, I just couldn't. I have a lot of knives here that all these that you see I throw, but I also have a lot of stuff that's inside in boxes that is, it's either really sentimental to me, someone give it to me, or I won it at a competition or something like that, or a trophy, or it's just something that's rare that I would not throw. And it sucks. I know I don't have a huge collection of that stuff that I don't throw because I'm not really big on collecting things other than knives, actually. Because I don't know. I am sentimental, but I don't know. But so I'm conflicted. Because, especially signed stuff, from Joe or one-offs. I got the Cerberus knife, which was only one of 70 knives. I got one of those.
Oh, wow.
That was a collaboration between Bobby Branton, Joe Darrett, and Bill Page.
Oh.
They all signed it. They're all numbered.
And
I think I've thrown it once or twice. But, throwing knives, they're meant to be thrown.
But
a lot of them are art.
But you did
super
throw
rare.
it, so that's like
That
it served its purpose, and now it can sit there
Right.
in its glory. And
Right, but throwing something is different. Like I can throw a knife in like a one spin. I know I'm going to stick it every single time, but like taking a knife, like for example, a folder.
right,
Yes, you can throw this. You continue to throw this. Eventually, it's going to break.
Yeah.
Eventually. So like you just got to be careful with certain things. You know what I mean? Like one of the most rare, well, the rarest knife that I have is actually signed by Chi-Chi White Cloud, and it's technically not mine. It's my stepdaughter's Karma. She used to go to the throws with us a lot when she was younger. And the second year she went to Broken Feather, she got most improved. And she got that signed knife from Chi-Chi, and it's incredible, dude. Man. So I would never throw that. It's never been thrown, and it probably never will be thrown.
Right.
Because it's got Chi-Chi. Like, how many people have a Chi-Chi signed knife? Like,
Right.
there's got to be less than 50 ever. Like, I don't even know if he's ever done it before. I've never seen one. Maybe engraved, but this is actually signed by a Sharpie, like there. I don't know. It's just super cool. But I get it. Throwing knives are meant to be thrown. Everybody's got different rules.
Right. I get the collecting and keeping the historic, value there. Like this is, you don't want to break it. You don't want to chip it. It was thrown. It served its purpose, and that person, unfortunately, may not longer be with us, and we're just going to preserve his memory with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that I get, but I'm just kind of being devil's advocate.
I understand. But like, also, I keep in mind that knife throwing is still pretty new. And I think about like, man, what if I had all my baseball cards and comic books when I was a kid? Right. Holy shit. Those would be worth a lot right now. So I'm thinking ahead into the future about knife throwing too. And I'm also conscious about a little bit about where I may be in 30, 40, 50 years. You know what I mean?
Well, it was funny because like I went to that first competition, the Blade Aces Game of Throws in Ohio, and it was literally like, have you met Brandon? Have you met Brandon? Yeah. Are you going to DangerFest? Are you going to like? This is my first time. I don't even know anybody here. This is like all new to me. And then it's just like, but it was immediately that you were a name in this community that people were like,
that's cool.
Like a leader in this community. You know what I mean? With your YouTube, your competition that's been going on for 10, 11 years now.
It'll be 11 this year, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you think like, 25 years ago, 2000, and it's just like, to me, I was already out of school and working and married and it's like, there was no YouTube of knife throwing. There was no,
there's barely any information on the internet at all.
Right. At least credible, but, and it's like, you look at it today and it's like knife throwing's all over, events are going on, like popping up all over the place now. I mean, from Florida to California to, Texas and Indiana and Pennsylvania. And it's like, if you're like anywhere in the United States, you can find somewhere within a day's drive.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right now. It's man.
Maybe throwing, like Montana and those.
Knife throwing had a big jump when COVID happened. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
I met so many people online because it's the perfect thing to do at home.
Yeah.
All you need's one knife, whatever, and a piece of wood to throw at. Like almost everybody can figure that out.
Yeah.
Unless you live in an apartment, maybe.
And it was like everybody was stuck in there, and it was just like, well, what new skill can I learn just so I don't claw my eyes out from boredom?
Drive myself nuts.
Yeah. And it's like when during shutdown, I wasn't working, and it was just like, I already knew how to throw, but I didn't know how to throw competitively. So that's when I started to teach myself and reading the rules and the guidelines and the knife specs and it's super easy. Like I went on Amazon, bought a set of cold steel Sureflights, and that's what I competed with on my first.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Rotational and everything.
Rotational. I got first place in no spin with those. I beat Prince.
Amateur?
Yeah.
Nice, dude. That's pretty cool. That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like that's why I always encourage people, and if you're content at home throwing by yourself, cool.
Right.
But if you really want to like see where you're at and test your skills, go to a throw. And you're just able to, I don't know, there's just so much stuff that you don't know.
And honestly, if the whole competition is not your deal, go anyway. There's always a practice range.
Yeah,
There's always
compete.
Somebody warming up.
I've been trying to tell people that about DangerFest. Just come.
Yeah.
Just be involved.
You could find a spot where you could throw all day long and talk to 20 different people, and people will stop and help you and tell you okay, well, what you're doing here is you're too close. Because it's sometimes hard to read the knife, and you might not even know what that means yet.
Especially if you're new.
Right. And it's just don't compete. Just show up. Everybody has knives they will let you throw.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man. That's another cool thing about going to a throw.
Yeah.
Dude, almost everybody, I would say 98, 99% of everybody will hey, you want to throw this? Go throw it. I have 300 knives. There's only 6 of them that I could think of that I would not let you throw. Just because, my Bill Pages, I can't get those anymore. They're just my babies.
Now that I have a few competitions under my belt, it's half competition, half, ooh, look what I got. Throw this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you want to share,
right.
Dude, this is sick. Check this out. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any, I'm just trying to think of the shit off the top of my head, dude.
Right.
Do you have any goals that you want to accomplish this year, competition or anything? Or
well, so I've podium in Blade Aces events, but I really want to bring up my rotational game, and because I don't know if I've ever
You're trying to hit
scored.
expert? Yeah, 200 is the goal. And
I think I might have did that last year at Blade Aces Game of Throws in Missouri. Either rotational or no spin. I forget the number, but
doesn't that mean you need to bump up to pro? Is that their rules? It's not DangerFest rules, but some places have that.
After playing paintball in a tournament and knowing what it feels like, okay, it's your turn, get on the line. Then I was just well, I don't want to be the guy sandbagging because I know I can compete at 5 meters. That's given. So even before I scored pro, the next competition I went to, I think I did my first amateur, and then the next year I went to Broken Feather, and then again in Ohio, and then DangerFest. And then the second competition I went to, I scored pro in axe. So I was just screw it, I'm throwing pro. Because the guy next to me that's still an amateur, that this is his first competition, he might whoop my ass, but I know what it feels like to be on that line when they say go.
Yeah.
And he might not know that feeling. So I'm not going to take that away from him because I'm calm. Okay, I can do this. Where he's and you know what I mean? I wanted to move out of the way so new people can come up and feel like they're accomplishing something.
That's cool.
Yeah. And like I said, I've had some that first place in no spin on my first competition. I think I podiumed in axe. We had a throw off last year for a 4 meter axe, and it was Goldie, Paul Macaron, me, and I think the other guy's name was Greg.
I'm not familiar.
I don't know if he was from Europe but anyway, so there was 4 of us. We all scored 98.
Wow.
And then so we all lined up, and I think it was like 2 or 3 points, and I came out first.
Nice, dude.
And to come in first next to the people that I look up to that I want to throw like.
Paul is a very good thrower.
He is a very good thrower.
Yeah.
And it was that was a proud moment for me, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, so like I can't like do that and be like, yeah, I'm amateur. You know what I mean? Like that just didn't sit
well,
right
there's
with
different
me.
categories though.
Right.
So I like that I may be pro in knife and I'm not pro in hawk or vice versa.
Right.
So one thing that popped in my mind, are you calm in comp now? Are you comfortable?
I like I said, I know what it's like to be on that line when the whistle goes and you gotta play and like have your head together and like know what you're gonna do. So I never really I get a little bit of butterflies like before the competition, but during it I'm
really
pretty okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've struggled with that a lot over the years, and I'm a lot better now because I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
But it depends. Like the World Championship, that I've trained all year to get to that, and I've only been there twice, and it sucks that who knows what's going on with the World Championship now. They're not having it this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. But some would say that DangerFest is now the throw. I don't know. I'm not trying to be that, but I don't know.
It's not that you're trying to be that. It's that the level of competition at DangerFest is.
We've got the best throwers in the U.S.
You got the best throwers, and if you want to say that you're throwing with the best throwers, you go to DangerFest, and it's 130 people were there last year.
137.
137, and it's just nonstop, and you might be throwing against 3 different, someone twice as young, someone twice as old, men, women.
Yeah, we're all lumped together,
and it's like, oh, it's raining, oh, it's dark, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, and it's like, deal with it. They're dealing with it. You deal with it.
Yeah,
like
you don't always have the best conditions. I've thrown in the rain many times.
Yeah,
it's not great. It's not great.
And then that's the thing with like some of these leagues that you have a indoor pristine.
Nice.
I
like throwing outside myself.
Me too. I do.
But it would be nice to have the option to throw inside if it was like storming outside. But
right.
You can't predict that shit.
Right. But unless you had a gymnasium to set up,
like sick.
I don't know if you've seen some of those like Eastern European throws where they're indoors and they're walking down a ramp. The
Russians are always inside.
Yeah. And they're walking down a ramp and it's like a freaking...
Yeah. It's huge. Like, I know.
So you've been asked this before. I think it would be a good idea because so many countries do it, but knife throwing in the Olympics.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm conflicted on that. So I came from a BMX and skateboarding background. So that's how I see knife throwing. Now, BMX and skateboarding has finally been added to the Olympics in the past 3 or 4 years.
Right.
There's a lot more money involved, and it brings out the best of the best through the world, right? So I'm conflicted because I do want knife throwing to expand because I would like to make a living off of this. And I'm still trying to figure that out the right way without being a douchebag about it. You know what I mean? Like without trying to pump people for money.
Right.
Haven't really figured that out yet. But we have a long way to go.
Right.
I was actually thinking about this recently. There's no industry. There's absolutely... So like with BMX and skateboarding, it took a long time for people to even notice that because there's got to be a lot of money involved.
Right.
There's zero industry with knife throwing. Now you go to the WKTL and WATL, they have forced people to make an industry, but it's not really an industry. It's just like a format for leagues They force people to wear jerseys.
Yeah.
You know, they make people buy their own sets of knives. You can't throw unless you have these sets of knives, and they continually break. So you have to buy them over and over. But there's no like BMX and skateboarding. There's clothing. There's BMX shops. There's BMX companies. There's repairs. There's video parts. There's Monster Energy. You know, like we have none of that. We have custom knife makers. Once you buy one set of knives, you don't really need to buy another set.
Right.
The throws, our throws getting big. We still don't charge shit. I think we're the cheapest throw you can go to, even though we're the biggest in North America. So it's going to be a long time before that happens.
Right.
And I also like knife throwing because it's grassroots. It's backyard knife throwing. I'm always going to be a backyard knife thrower. That's where I started.
Right.
Yes, I do want it to get bigger, but there's like still a coolness about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like BMX and skateboarding. It's kind of mainstream now, and I don't know. I like it. It's just, but I also want people to succeed, and there are plenty of avenues. There's the world's big enough. We can all prosper. We don't have to fight or. Well, we kind of do at this point, but there's no money.
Right.
So what are we fighting over? We're fighting over attention, like who's the best or something.
Well,
like,
that's what everybody is there for, to find out who's the best. But I mean, you have to admit, we would do a lot better than the new breakdancing in the Olympics.
Oh my God, dude. That was a joke.
Right?
But,
the one lady was a joke. I don't know about the other competitors.
But the other huge problem with knife throwing, it's not fun to watch. But I have ways to get around that. The regular knife throwing where we stand on the line, it's not exciting. No. Even to a lot of people that watch knife throwing, unless you're watching someone that you really want to see how they do, it's not that exciting. But there are many other, us at DangerFest, we've been trying to be the spearhead to promote those stuff. We have instinctive knife throwing. And fast draw has been around for a long time, but I've been trying to put that at the forefront. Yeah. That's my main focus. Fast Draw Friday, dude. Everybody stops doing what they're doing to come watch that shit. It's exciting. It's the only thing that we have that's actual head-to-head competition. And like I said before, it's competition, but it's not really. I mean, we talk a little shit because it's fun, but we all know each other, man. It's really friendly. But Fast Draw is the future. I've been saying this for a few years now. We need money. I need, I don't want to jinx this, but Cold Steel, they contacted me and they want to sponsor DangerFest, and that's huge. We've talked about some other stuff. I don't want to talk about that publicly yet until I confirm it. It's a huge thing. This could be really big for all of knife throwing, not just for me. I'm trying to promote knife throwing for everybody. But if we get Cold Steel involved and they are susceptible to the ideas that I have, I think we could really do things. Like this could be on ESPN, not the boring, no offense, WATL and WKTL. It sucks. It's boring, dude. It's not fun to watch. It's like about as fun to watch as darts. Yeah. But the instinctive course, fast draw, speed knives, there's a lot of other stuff that's exciting.
Well, like if you look at skateboarding and BMX, where you have the half pipe and then you have the street course. Well, that's like the instinctive is like the street course, because like this is where I'm going to go and this is what I'm going to do.
It's freestyle.
Right. Yeah. And then you have the fast draw, which it gets your adrenaline pumping.
Dude, like, it's the most exciting. I've never been, dude.
Right. Right.
I fucking love that shit, man. I love it. Yeah, and then everybody's got affordable timers now. We're getting more people involved.
My only thing is with the style of throwing and the restrictions that a lot of these leagues have.
Come on,
would that even be possible to try and
I'm glad it's not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it's too dangerous. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
Leave it to the men.
Don't get me started on the Walmart knife throwing league.
Right.
Hey,
you know what? It's great that people can get out there and do something and they're in a league and they're getting scored.
It's great, man.
and they're learning something. They're having a skill, they're having fun. That's great, but they're not the end all be all or the greatest of, and they want to be. They want to corner the market. I heard a story where a knife maker said that we're making these axes and they are Walmart knife throwing legal or Walmart axe throwing league legal, and they got sued because they used their name saying that it was legal by their
Probably,
rules.
dude. Probably.
Like they don't want anybody else to be able to sell something that they can use in a, it's very like money grubby.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course. Yeah, we could go on and on about that.
Right.
Okay, let me think here. Let me check the time.
All
right, we're back. We had some technical difficulties. My phone was not charging. It went dead. We lost about the last 15 minutes of the podcast. But we're going to go back and re-record this because I think it's a fun part that we're going to start doing every interview that I do from now on with different people. 10 rapid fire questions. I'm going to ask Ziggy these. I don't want him to answer too quickly. And we'll see how this goes. And again, I want to thank Ziggy for doing this, man. It's been a lot of fun having him over here today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't think about these too much.
Okay.
Here we go. Heads or tails?
Tails.
Push or pull?
Push.
Favorite G.I. Joe character?
Roadblock. Was that the guy with the tattoo on his chest, the Marine Corps?
I think. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to double check that comment if you know. Favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Leonardo with the dual katanas.
Good. I don't think there's any wrong answer, honestly. Right. They're all like personal. Actually, Raphael, he was cool, but I think size are dumb.
Yeah.
Nunchucks are kind of dumb too, but they're cool because you can spin them.
Yeah.
Do you think rollerblading is cool?
It was when I did it.
That question's for a certain somebody from France. Instinctive or conventional knife throwing?
Instinctive.
I like that. Is knife throwing useful for combat or self-defense?
Throwing anything to get yourself out of danger is useful.
Good answer, dude. What's your favorite weapon?
A gun. It's just the easiest thing there is.
I should probably have, minus, what about minus firearms?
Minus firearms? I mean, staffs, a sword. I mean, like.
Length?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, mine would be a spear.
Yeah.
If I had to get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your favorite knife? If you had to.
I've carried a cold steel Recon Tanto for years while I was camping and canoeing and stuff like that. So
tried and true. Those are good knives. Yeah. If you had to pick one favorite knife thrower, I know there's a ton of different types of people that throw, like conventional, competitive, backyard throwers, whatever. If you had to pick one guy.
I used to love watching Lobo when he was doing his ring catches. That was just mesmerizing the way he got
his IVA throw. Yeah. It was Michael Lubinovich, incredible. He got very good, very fast. He's one of those phenoms.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss him dearly. Yeah, buddy. We miss you, buddy. Come back to the dark side. Anyway, thanks again, man. I really appreciate this. And thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.